Howdy! Welcome to the Pokemon Legends Arceus Iceberg. This video will contain spoilers for the entire game, including a clip towards the end of the game following this intro. You have been warned. Pokemon Legends Arceus, a game that breaks the conventional mold the mainline games have set in recent years, has left many players hopeful for the future of the franchise. This story, told in the land of Hisui, the Sinnoh of old, answers numerous age-old questions about the region, but raises many, many more. Level 1. The Sky. 1. Ancestors. As confirmed by the official Pokemon channel, many of the characters in Legends Arceus are ancestors of known modern-day characters. Here are a few ancestral links featuring those outright confirmed in press material and others through suppositions by fans. Commander Komodo and Professor Rowan, Ray and Lucas, Akari and Dawn, Mai and Marley, Ginter and Volkner, Leon and Clay, Benny and Wally, Colza and Gardenia, Sanqua and Karen, Picel and Mira, Volo and Lady Kagata and Cynthia, Silene and Cyrus, Arezu and Mars, Zisu and Flint, Clover and Candace, Coin and Saturn, Charm and Bertha, and finally Sabi and Cheryl. Add to this that many of these ancestors share the same Pokemon as their descendants builds upon this. Clover and Candace have Abomasnow, Coin and Saturn Toxicroak, Volo and Cynthia Roserade, Garchomp, Togekiss, etc. Besides being the ancestors of modern-day characters, this also is one of the many aspects that demonstrate the migration of humans to various regions, such as Leon's descendant Clay in Unova. Genetics seem to be a heck of a thing in the Pokemon universe. 2. Bandits. As previously noted, the Hisui region is home to at least 3 bandits: Charm, Coin, and Clover, otherwise known as the Misfortune Sisters. Each called one of the factions found in Hisui their home at one point. Adaman notes how Clover walked out of the clan. Coin states to Irida that earnest goody-two-shoes act of yours is what made me leave the Pearl clan. And Charm speaks of her leaving the Galaxy team, stating, "I've got no interest in living back in that place with all its stupid rules." And she calls the clans narrow-minded groups, demonstrating her contempt for them. Each seemed unhappy with the politics or rules they found restrictive in each of their clans, leaving and forming their own group as they steal and fight to survive in the harsh Hisui region. Given how Silene notes in the beginning that the player will most likely die if kicked out and without the protection of a group, it is interesting that these 3 decided to risk that chance. How bad was it really for each of them that they felt leaving was the only option? Given how swift Commander Komodo was to kick the player out in order to protect their village, was Charm witness to some similar expulsion of someone that didn't follow the rules to a T? Lending credence to this is Charm stating that I had a score to settle with the Galaxy team. All the pain and suffering I experienced coming up here from the Kanto region to work. Thus, Charm moved clear across multiple regions just to be here, believing she has suffered many slights, as she puts it. The question remains, what truth and weight can we give to these accusations? They also attempt to steal the offspring of the noble Pokemon Arcanine. Why? As Charm states, if we want to live freely in the land of Hisui, we need to have powerful Pokemon on our side. Life is hard on one's own or in a relatively small group of 3 to survive the natural phenomena of the region. But could she be alluding to something more? Perhaps more powerful Pokemon to continue stealing, to met out revenge against the Galaxy team, or to protect themselves from ever having to join such groups again. 3. Alpha Pokemon. Throughout the region, alpha Pokemon may be found, being larger in size, more aggressive, and outright stronger than other wild Pokemon. These Pokemon are unique to the ancient land of Old Sinnoh and are not found in the modern games. Why? A. They were outcompeted by other Pokemon. As is the case with many megafauna in the real world, eventually there may not have been enough natural resources to sustain their giant bodies. Smaller, more agile Pokemon were otherwise able to reproduce and outcompete these large and powerful Pokemon in other ways. B. Habitat destruction. While certain landmarks, names, and locations are recognizable from modern-day Sinnoh, much of Hisui is still a wild, untamed land with plenty of room for Pokemon to roam. However, modern Pokemon exist in heavily packed routes between towns where many Pokemon are forced to coexist in these small areas. Again, without the proper resources or space to grow and sustain themselves, they eventually died off. C. People destroyed them. Time and again, the people of the region note how powerful and monstrous Pokemon are, even after befriending certain ones thanks to the player. Alpha Pokemon in particular are feared for their comparatively vast power. Perhaps this mistrust and fear led to their hunting and extinction by humans. Given how outright aggressive they are, perhaps the people of Hisui feared they would never be tamed and would be unable to coexist with them. Or they simply kill that which they do not understand. 4. Hometown Muffin. One of the many items and phrases that denote the migratory nature of humans is the hometown muffin. Unlike Charm from the Kanto region, debatably being relatively close, the maker of this muffin hails from the Galar region, or regions such as Galar. Given the estimated proximity from Kalos to Galar, could this be what is being referenced? It can most likely be assumed, as Prelude Beach suggests, that travel over such distances is mainly conducted by sea. This wide range of travel between regions is how Cyndaquil, Oshawott, and Rowlet have come to be in this region as invasive species. 5. Diamond and Pearl Clan necklaces. Adaman and Irida, the leaders of the Diamond and Pearl clans respectively, each sport a necklace that mirrors the other. Adaman's curls around the left side of his neck with a blue diamond gem, and Irida's curls the opposite direction with a yellowish pearl gem. Besides representing the colors and style of each of their clans, the mirrored nature, in addition to the fact that neither necklace is a whole circle, suggests there being two halves of the same whole. Time and space both must come together to exist. Perhaps at one point even farther in the past, the necklace was one piece, later separated and reworked to suit an individual's needs and ideals. 6. Professor Laventon. Professor Laventon has traveled the world, having collected the starter Pokemon we see during his travels. In the Pokédex entry for Raichu, he states, "It can discharge bursts of electricity exceeding 100,000 volts. A single strike with that amount of power would incapacitate one of the Caparaja of my homeland." In the original Pokédex entries for Raichu, it stated that it was an Indian elephant. Was this just a quick replacement made as the first elephant Pokemon was announced, or could it signify that Caparaja is not actually native to the Britain-based Galar region? Or is this intentionally done to mislead us? While we first see Caparaja in the Galar region, such exotic animals in England were normally found there due to vast global trading and war. For example, the first historically recorded elephant in northern Europe, the animal brought by Emperor Claudius during the Roman invasion of Britain in AD 43 to the British capital of Colchester. This could further suggest that Laventon is from a wholly different, undiscovered region. 7. Ancient Quarry. In the Coronet Highlands, a location dubbed the Ancient Quarry can be found. The unnaturally carved stone blocks are indicative of human intervention. Stone quarries are not a new invention, being utilized by people that mine them with hammers, picks, and chisels in order to build stone structures. Again, their explicit purpose was to extract stone for building materials. In fact, the stone is markedly similar to the ruins found not just in the Coronet Highlands, but throughout the region. How could people have moved these giant pillars and slabs, potentially from the centralized location? Did they make use of pulleys and carts, or perhaps ancient Pokemon which, as we see from the crumbling statues of both legendary and regular Pokemon alike, featured heavily in their culture? Level 2. The Tip. 8. The First Pokédex. As this is the first Pokédex, perhaps it lends credence to how and why Pokédex entries in the present timeline are more fleshed out the moment a Pokemon is captured or even seen, as shown in the anime. The information has already been recorded, of course, as the Pokemon have already been seen and discovered. But the modern goal of completing the Pokédex is for the express purpose of tracking Pokemon evolution and changes over time. For example, are there any genetic variances or other signals that indicate a branching evolution or some other physiological change? We know that Basculegion is no longer found in modern games and, despite Basculin being a different stripe coloration, is simply referred to as Basculin and not Hisuian Basculin, like the other Hisuian Pokemon. 9. Altered status effects. With the alterations to some moves and mechanics made in Legends Arceus, various status effects now only last a few turns, rather than an infinite length of time in battle before being healed. The altered status effects of poisoning, paralysis, and the drowsy replacement for sleep are potentially indicative of ancient Pokemon having hardier physical and mental constitutions. On the other hand, the way in which these moves wear off more quickly could be a demonstration of less powerful moves that have become progressively stronger and more defensive over the years to the modern era. 10. Murals. Ancient depictions of legendary Pokemon are found in every region of Hisui. While almost all depict Arceus, Palkia, or Giratina, the Cobalt Coast is particularly unique thanks to its size and the top row of these depictions, which showcases Manaphy in addition to Cresselia, Darkrai, some of the noble Pokemon, etc. Was this area always underwater, meaning they must have carved this from the back of a Pokemon or within a boat, or was this such a long time ago that water has since flooded this area? Were some of these ruins and destroyed temples made from the same material as all the places of worship to these legendary or revered Pokemon? 11. Special Parcel Origins. The player is able to redeem clothing items from pre-order bonuses or from saved data from the other Pokemon games. The clothier states, "A special parcel has arrived with your name on it," and we can find various clothing items, including the modern Team Galactic uniform. Who sent these packages to us? Especially right after you joined the Galaxy team and before you're well known. In the meta sense, this is a fairly unobtrusive way to give players pre-order or commercially incentivized items. However, in-universe it is still quite odd. Is this person Arceus, creating such items to aid the player or remind them of home? Are they perhaps from someone able to send items back and forth from the future through these space-time rifts? 12. Rotom Appliances. Obtained from the Ginkgo Guild member Ginter, various Rotom appliances and their, quote, insides are packed with gears and machinery that serve some unclear purpose. Given their sleek modern technology, which far surpasses the steam-powered Galaxy Team headquarters, where did Ginter get them? One can assume that they are from space-time rifts in the same way that the player can find and pick up upgrades or dubious discs. But why would he sell them other than assuming they will be useful in some way? The simple answer is, he's a merchant hawking potentially rare or unique items. While there may be fear around Pokemon or items that come from these rifts, he may see them as a business opportunity to capture the wonder and money of those fascinated by them, like the player. 13. Legend Plate. A new plate introduced in Legends Arceus is the Legend Plate. In battle, the most effective type against the opponent is determined, and Arceus becomes this type, with its unique move, Judgment, taking on that type as well. For example, say Arceus wielding the Legend Plate goes up against a Mothim. It would transform into the Rock type, and Judgment would similarly be a Rock type move. This plate truly is an adaptive evolution of all of the other plates Arceus can wield. It is also noted as being imbued with the essence of all creation, as Arceus himself is the being that brought forth all creation, all types in Pokemon, and can summarily wield it, adopting the many powers of that which he himself created. 14. Space-Time Rift. Throughout the region, large and smaller pockets of space-time rifts appear, wherein modern and ancient items, as well as Pokemon, appear as well. Modern technologies like the dubious disc can be found on the ground, as well as bags of stardust or broken plates. More modern Pokemon, such as the Magnemite line and Porygon line, known for steel and magnets, as well as being digital Pokemon, can be found. Ancient Pokemon like the Cranidos and Shieldon line, still functionally extinct with their fossil evolutions being found in the Primordial Cave, can be found here as well. The rifts bring Pokemon and items from the distant past and future to a single location before sucking them back up when a time period ends. After Dialga, Palkia, Giratina, and even Arceus are taken care of, why do these portals still occur? Simply put, because the player, Ingo, and other beings that do not belong in this current place in time and space continue to upset the world's balance and very fabric of existence by being here. 15. Shiny Pokemon. Drawing from my theories from my first Pokemon Iceberg, I believe that these distortions or glitches in time, space, and reality are the reason for shiny Pokemon and their increased rates. As more rifts, ultra wormholes, and hunting methods progress throughout the games, these rare Pokemon have become increasingly easier to find. I posit that shiny Pokemon are not just genetic mutations, but evidence of Pokemon from alternate timelines or realities in which the shiny color and sparkles is the predominant one. By interacting with, accelerating, or otherwise hunting through shiny methods, the player somehow weakens the barrier between these dimensions, resulting in increased odds of finding this Pokemon. One notable new occurrence are the Pokemon outbreaks in Legends Arceus. A group of 4 Pokemon with more materializing or spawning before our very eyes when one is captured or defeated, often located in a particular location where that particular Pokemon is not normally found on any one map. All of this is indicative of a more subtle rift that allows them to appear for this period of time. 16. Hisuian Typhlosion Typing. Similar to the commentary created over the original Decidueye, Hisuian Typhlosion gains the Ghost typing upon evolving. This has led many fans to believe, as ghost Pokemon are arguably dead ghosts, as confirmed through lore and Pokédex entries, that Hisuian Typhlosion somehow dies, or at least a part of its soul dies, resulting in its gained ghost typing. 17. All alpha Pokemon were nobles. All of the alpha Pokemon are substantially larger than normal Pokemon, just like alphas, and are found in areas featuring stone structures, pillars, and the like most often. Similar pillars and Pokemon statues, akin to the ones of the main nobles at the top of Mount Coronet's temple, remain. Upon first entering the Coronet Highlands, the player is greeted by ruins with a stone Probopass and Clefable, both quite large. Coincidentally, a permanent Alpha Probopass and Clefable spawn can be found in this area. Are the ruins the former temples or arenas of Alpha Pokemon that were left without guardians or were otherwise shunned by the very humans that once worshipped or adored them for their power? This could explain why some alphas are outright hostile or vengeful towards the player, despite their normal counterparts that are, at times, peaceful in the player's presence. Level 3. Under the Surface. 18. As previously touched upon, trade evolution Pokemon most likely undergo a molecular genetic change during the process of trading, but that process is potentially absent in Legends Arceus. The transference or lack of transference of data during trading through trade machines results in the altering of the physical or mental properties of certain Pokemon, leading to their evolutions. Instead, the link cable can be used, although this is still a piece of technology not found in the past, so how could the presence of this link cable cause these very Pokemon to evolve? Perhaps by touching this cable that is still imbued with the code associated with the trade evolution remains, eliciting a reaction in some Pokemon. Or, perhaps, the player connects one end of their cable to their ARC phone, with a Pokemon holding the other side, creating a similar data transfer. 19. Grit and Pebble Powers. New items found in the game are Grit Dust, Gravel, Stones, and Rocks. By using these on a Pokemon, the effort levels, replacing effort values and individual values, in order to directly affect a Pokemon's hidden stats, exist. In other words, raising a stat and directly making the Pokemon more powerful by using these grit objects. The question is, how do these stones work, and why do Pokemon that you release additionally give them to you in addition to ones encountered in the wild? Similar to the Origin Ore or the Legend Plate, these particular grits or materials are imbued with the essence of life, of Arceus. As a result, they contain some vestiges of power, which, when interacted with a Pokemon, bestows a fraction of that power into them. This also makes sense why, as the stones progress from dust to a full rock, the power they are able to impart similarly rises, as there is more mass or materials that the power is concentrated within. 20. Shards are broken plates. Shards, a mainstay from the Pokemon games, can be found in space-time rifts, and the player can use a recipe to turn them into Stardust. What exactly is the composition of this Stardust, and why is it so valuable? Besides being pretty, does it hold any particular power that we do not yet see? As I suggest, the shards are, in fact, broken plates from failed timelines wherein the world was destroyed or brought into darkness. Their rapid and numerous appearances in these rifts and laying upon the ground is, perhaps, how they come to be so numerous in the grand underground of modern Sinnoh. But why are there only 3 colors? A little shaky, but when regressed to their most basic states, we get the elements water, fire, and grass, the starter types, that make up the blue, red, and green shards respectively. All other plates are potentially just offshoots of these 3 main elements that were vital to or were otherwise the 3 main elements of life. 21. Baggin's Skills. Baggin is an NPC which can teach the player tricks to maximize their inventory space and fit more items therein. The player sports a small pack about their waist that, thanks to Baggin, can now contain up to 60 unique items. But what tricks does he teach the player wherein they can stuff all of that into a small pack, and why can only he teach you through a trickling of teachings how to do so? It is perhaps not a simple matter of rearranging or maximizing space, but something more akin to Hermione Granger's bag extension charm. Perhaps having learned some techniques from Palkia or the space-time rifts, the inside of the player's bag is summarily expanded, being larger on the inside than the outside. 22. Ingo Battle Subway. One character not dissimilar to the player is Ingo, whom many will recognize as one of the Battle Subway trainers from Unova. He sports the same dress, looks, and pose, noting how hidden moves do not exist in Hisui, referencing their use in the modern games. Like the player, he is missing many of his memories of before, having found himself similarly appearing in the Hisui region, presumably falling from a space-time rift like the player. The player and Ingo are perhaps the first occurrence of what are known as fallers. Looker and Annabelle in the modern games similarly fall from ultra wormholes, having forgotten their memories, but each serving a purpose to help in saving the world from such dimensional rifts. 23. Noble and Hisuian Pokemon disappearance. Building off of the previous points, Noble or Hisuian Pokemon were outcompeted or otherwise shunned and or killed by humans. We do not see the Hisuian or Noble Pokemon again, and as with the modern dubbed Spear Pillar, the destroyed Temple of Sinnoh, their likeness in stone is similarly gone. As more and more humans travel from Galar, Alola, and the other regions, perhaps the Diamond and Pearl clans were unable to keep up or otherwise protect their lords and ladies. Or perhaps, as the generations went on, similar to Coin and Clover, they abandoned their ancient way of life and beliefs, with no new wardens caring or rising to the task of guarding the noble Pokemon. 24. The Shrouded Ruins are a gravesite. The Shrouded Ruins in the Crimson Mirelands are home to another set of dilapidated ruins, although two features set it apart. First, a giant odd keystone whose text reads, "There is some kind of strange aura leaking out from the cracks? Are they really just cracks? And is the point from which the wisps or souls brought back to and Spiritomb is encountered? Could this be where the sealing of those 108 spirits that were, quote, bound to a fissure in an odd keystone as punishment for misdeeds 500 years ago? If this odd keystone in Spiritomb exists here, is it the first, meaning that Hisui is 500 years in the past, or is this indicative of a similar bind hundreds of years even before this? Second, there are odd piles of stone found about the ruins which are eerily similar to cairns. A cairn is a human-made stack, mound, or pile of rocks, and are normally built to serve as monuments, burial sites, navigational aids by land or sea, or ceremonial grounds. Given that this is where Spiritomb and the odd keystone can be found, could these mark various grave sites of either the malevolent spirits that were sucked into it, or perhaps the victims these spirits took at the temple, thus tainting the perpetrator's souls and leading to their binding? 25. Unknown. Unknown are known to fall out of what is referred to as the unknown dimension, such as Unknown F in the 21st Pikachu short. Due to the space-time distortions and Giratina's intervention, could Unknown have fallen out of their dimension, now hiding until they are captured or returned? We see walls throughout with the scrawlings, such as the one in the Crimson Mirelands. Could these Unknown have lived at these now crumbling temples, similarly revered and utilized in creating the original language? As Laventon notes in their Pokédex entry, it is hard to believe these strangely shaped Pokemon are truly living creatures. I've pointed out that the species' many forms resemble writing from other lands. No one will take me seriously. They are found thus in multiple regions, either suggesting that each region was bestowed with these Pokemon from which their languages all originate, or they haphazardly fell from the unknown dimension, leading to a similar fate. 26. The Origin Ball is a Cherish Ball. The Origin Ball is a red, crystal-like Pokeball crafted from the red Origin ore in the Primeval Grotto. It is used to capture either a transformed Dialga or Palkia. As I posit, however, this is not the first time we have seen this Origin Ball. This Pokeball bears a striking, if not rudimentary, similarity to the more sleek and modern Cherish Ball, which was introduced in Generation 4. From Generation 4 onward, event Pokemon, barring eggs, are typically distributed inside a Cherish Ball, and this is the only way to obtain a Cherish Ball without cheats. Typically rare, legendary, or mythical Pokemon, such as Celebi, are given out. How fitting that the special Origin Ball is meant to contain such powerful Pokemon of creation, like Dialga and Palkia. 27. Vessa and Spiritomb. Vessa is the little girl that tasks the player with retrieving 107 wisps, or spirits, from about the Hisui region. She never speaks as to their purpose and, upon finding them, directs the player to the shrouded ruins. After telling the player to close their eyes, she disappears and we see the 108th wisp, strongly suggested as being Vessa, who stated, "Making you gather all those wisps was my last bit of mischief." So was she just having fun, or did she make the player gather them for some unsavory purpose? The other aspect of this is the fact that a wisp, Vessa, could take on the form of a little girl. Was she truly a little girl at the time of her death or sealing? What could a child have done to warrant such a fate? Like Volo, could she and others have summoned Giratina, as Volo claims Giratina had wrought similar havoc in the past? And is Vessa really a little girl, or merely posing as one as part of her mischief and to gain the player's trust? Level 4, Center of the Iceberg. 28. Volo's Goal. Volo claims that his goal is to meet Arceus, and that he was the one that called Giratina and caused all of the space-time rifts and negative events of the game to transpire. He hoped to draw Arceus out to him, claiming to be a true believer from a bygone age. He also wanted to remake the world, similar to Cyrus. He also states that, "I'll stand before Arceus at last. No, I will conquer it." Why? What would he remake the world into, or is it simply a quest for power? Volo refers to Giratina as an eldritch presence. Thus, is the Pokemon truly evil, or is the way that Volo revels in it signifying that he wishes to turn the world into this? Leviton states that Volo told him Giratina now chose to protect the land of Hisui after the events of the game, so presumably Volo will find other means of meeting his goal. The old verses tell of a time long since past, perhaps of the ancient civilization that worshipped Arceus. Verse 5 reads, "Long and longer yet ago, Celestica was here, but folk and town alike both did disappear. In time came new folk sailing, sailing 'cross the sea, called by their love for Sinnoh, great and almighty. But different were the Sinnoh that each folk did hold dear, and bitter strife and angry war were always at the near. Celestica they called themselves, the name not theirs to take, yet claim it from the past they did, for tragic quarrel's sake. So once again did our name live, though all our people gone, but even if the name endures, its heart does not live on." Celestica Trail and, by extension, the modern-day Celestic Town remain. Cynthia's grandmother guards the mural of the lake trio there, and, presumably, Volo and Lady Cogita are descended from these people that came across the sea. Or perhaps she is the descendant from these original peoples. Lady Cogita continuously mentions her burden to pass down this ancient wisdom to aid a hero, perhaps by Arceus or their very teachings themselves. Volo claims that he couldn't help but wonder why life was so unfair, why I was cursed to live through such things. Could this be referencing their once great clan, but, as with the other blonde, fair-skinned people of the Ginkgo Guild potentially, now wandering merchants from a lost civilization, seeking revenge for what was taken from them? Are Cynthia and her ancestors the true descendants from these people, and those noted for quarreling over the true nature of Sinnoh simply the Diamond and Pearl clans, further distancing Cynthia's line from them? 29. Fallers occur because of Arceus. In the opening cutscene, we learn that Arceus sent the player to the past in order to complete the Pokédex and save the world. In the process, the player loses their memory, but still remembers this particular event. Ingo, Looker, and Annabelle are similar fallers. Annabelle helps with the Ultra Beast and the Ultra Wormholes. Ingo aids and guides the player through the Coronet Highlands. Thus, Arceus pulls people that he thinks can help save or contribute to the world, ultimately saving it from destruction. The reason he generally erases the person's memories is to create a stronger connection to the world the people find themselves in, thus why they would wish to protect it. even at the potential cost to themselves. 30. The pattern in Arceus' lair is meant to bind him. An intricate summoning pattern is found in the flooring of Arceus' domain. But rather than a summoning portal allowing him to summon things into being, perhaps it is meant to bind him. Again, perhaps this is why Arceus does not descend to the world in all of his power. He is somehow bound to this area, albeit he can bring others to him or teleport them, such as the player, into the world where they are needed. Could Giratina, an eldritch being according to Volo, have done this? Otherwise, perhaps Arceus is bound by some code to simply watch or observe, only intervening to allow his own creations to save themselves, with some guidance, of course. 31. Catching a part of Arceus. Upon beating Arceus, he states, "And I bestow upon thee a part of myself," as then the player is able to catch Arceus, or rather, a part of himself. In other words, Arceus is capable of dividing his power and consciousness into multiple physical forms, splitting himself up. Akin to the AI Cortana from the Halo series, Arceus is able to later interact with these parts, but at the cost of, again, dividing his power or processing capabilities. This also explains why Arceus, the literal god of Pokemon and creation, does not simply obliterate everything in his path, but a minuscule fraction of his power is able to afford him the strength of a normal legendary Pokemon. 32. Ancestor Reincarnation. As the ancestors and modern-day descendants bear striking resemblances and all coincidentally exist and interact during a similar time of strife, i.e. the emergence of Giratina, Dialga, and/or Palkia due to the Red Chains and other interventions by a human that could destroy the world. What if, thanks to an omniscient Arceus, the souls of these past heroes or integral players, whose interactions with the player subconsciously impact their chances of success in order to recreate the triumph and prevent the world's destruction, are brought into being? Is the ancient hero you, the player from another time even farther removed? You are taken from the main Sinnoh timeline where you stopped the time and space trio to do the same thing in Hisui. Who's to say you, or a version of you, wasn't the even more ancient hero? 33. Are we our own ancestor? Presumably the player remains in the ancient Hisui region, never returning to their original timeline. As a result, do they not age and potentially settle down to have a family? As such, this could explain Dawn and Lucas in the modern timeline, making the player effectively their own ancestor. This again explains the physical similarities as well as why they are called upon in the modern era to combat Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina once more. 34. Arceus created humans as caretakers. People, specifically Volo and Lady Kakata's ancestors, created the temples to worship Arceus. They built Snow Point Temple, the pillars and legendary Pokemon locations, the noble Pokemon areas, and were the first wardens of the region. However, with the introduction of the Diamond and Pearl clans, as in the old verse, they lost this title, or perhaps before this occurred, their civilization crumbled through some means. Either way, through the fickle nature of man and the need for power, and again, perhaps by a similar alliance with Giratina, it all went away. This is why the Dialga and Palkia statues remain mostly in one piece, while Giratina's is brutally torn down. He was and symbolized the destruction of an empire. Going back to the murals, legendary Pokemon were known among these peoples, residing in their own temples like the Lake Trio and Regigigas, but others were destroyed when Giratina first fell and betrayed Arceus. Perhaps the people, like Commander Komodo did, felt like all of the legendaries and Pokemon were culpable and not Giratina alone and banished them or tried to fight them. Similar to humans in the real-world stories of creation, they are caretakers over all of God's creatures, or Pokemon in this case. But as is the case in both stories, people tend to turn their back on such duties, mistreating the very life and wonder they were bound to protect. And it is only through them that they can utilize Pokemon and others to save it. 35. Ancestors and Human Pokemon Connection. In the Canalave Library of Sinnoh, a folk story claimed that there once were Pokemon that became very close to humans. There once were humans and Pokemon that ate together at the same table. It was a time when there existed no differences to distinguish the two, suggesting that they were equals, ate at the same table, and were effectively the same, and hence at their relationships. Furthermore, in the Pokemon world, there are various cases of unnaturally strong genetics and passing on identical physical features. For example, Nurse Joy and Officer Jenny's, despite being cousins, are physically identical. This, combined with the ancestors looking like near spit images of their descendants, also lends credence to this theory. If, for example, a male and female Pokemon, despite being different species, share the same egg group, the offspring will take on the species of the female. However, unlike Pokemon, either the male or female humans can pass on its form to the offspring. In the anime, take Brock, who is simply a younger version of his father. The Joys, the Jennys, etc. As for powers or physical characteristics, let's look at Irida's unnatural tolerance for the cold. Besides being warm-blooded or other means, perhaps this is due to some biological link to ice-type Pokemon. As Arceus created all of creation in the Pokemon world, could not people be classified as Pokemon, although legendaries in their own right meant to create and honor Arceus while being caretakers? And that concludes the Pokemon Legends Arceus Iceberg. If you have any theories of your own, feel free to share them down below. Based on the feedback from the last poll, we'll be looking at the Pokemon Generations 5 Iceberg next time. Until then, thanks for watching.